Okay. All right. Waiting to see my pretty face. There I am. Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you, Deborah. We have a stand-in producer here today. We have Deb Sagana is filling in for the COVID suffering Molly Fabata. So, hey, let's give it up for Deb. Great job, Deb. You got me live. All right. You can go sit down now. That's what Molly always does. Hey, everybody. How you doing? Good to see you all. And I got the topic here about what to say, what not to say to a broker. This is ultimately what I'm trying to get you to understand at the end of this is how to craft your elevator speech so that when you speak to a broker, you know exactly what to say, what not to say, and why you're talking to this broker. So that is what we're going to be discussing today. There's no, and Deb was like, are you putting together any slides? Hello, William. Are you putting together any slides? Are you going to just wing it? No, I'm not going to wing it, Deb. I'm going to teach like the way I used to in the old days. But okay, so let's get started here. When you're young in this business, one of the biggest fears that you have is like putting yourself out there and letting the world know that this is what you're looking to do. You've never done it before. People don't think, you don't even have any credibility in yourself. You don't even have faith in yourself. And now you're going to go out there and put yourself in the world. And so picking up the phone and speaking to a broker may be one of the scariest things you've ever done. I get it. I totally get it. But you're going to do it. You're going to pick up the phone and you're going to do it. You're going to do it 5 times. You're going to trip over your tongue 5 times. And the 6th time you will be a silver-tongued fox. I guarantee it. That's just how it works. The conversations are always the same. You'll get the hang of it. It's like anything else. I remember the first time I ever had to call and ask somebody if they wanted to buy insurance. That was terrifying. And so if I could do that, you guys can do this, okay? And the thing is that your career in this business will not stop because you couldn't make the phone call to the broker. You're going to get over it. You want to get to that end game of being the owner operator of a multifamily real estate investment business. If this is the biggest obstacle, then this is going to be easy for you. But I'm going to tell you how we're going to do this. You're going to be making mistakes. Don't worry about it. That's just the name of the game. Success is a lousy coach. Make mistakes. Now, what the broker really wants to know is, what are you looking for? What is it that I can show you? So be precise, be succinct, get that question answered, know it cold. I'm going to tell you what my elevator speech is in a moment, and you'll see it is the same thing every single time. And I want yours to be the same way as well. One of the things that you have to take into consideration when you're speaking to the broker is, what role are you playing? And you might be thinking, so what do you mean? Well, listen, we play many different roles, and the approach with the broker will be different for each one. And what I mean by roles, I mean bird dogger, wholesaler, syndicator, owner operator. Those are some of the different types of hats that we wear in this business. And each one has a different way to overcome any objections with the broker. If you're a syndicator, or if you're just calling about a particular property and he wants to know, like, well, what other deals have you done? That might stop you dead in your tracks, but it shouldn't, because ultimately you're going to put together an investor group to close that deal. So the way you answer that question is, well, I represent a group of investors and we look at all different types of properties. See how it sounds great? It's all marketing, but it's really just answering his question in a way where you're telling the truth, but it sounds really good. And I want you to get over those types of hurdles so that everything you say just rolls off your tongue. Keep in mind that a broker is trying to put you in a box. He's trying to label you. He's trying to figure out where you fit in the scheme of things. Are you, a guy who can write a check and close the whole deal? Or are you a novice that's never done this before? So he can figure out very quickly how he needs to behave with you. Don't give him bullets for his gun. Learn the lingo. Be very smooth when you talk to him so that you know exactly what to say. Okay, let's start with things you should never say to a broker. It's like when this thing, I'm waiting for like this thing to jump in, like it's one of those 11 o'clock comedy shows. Things you should never say to a broker. The first thing is, I'm looking for no money down deals. Wow, really? No faster way to kill your credibility than to start off by asking the broker for no money down deals. I told my students, I said, I can have you in a deal in the next 90 days, no money down, guaranteed. I guarantee it. I could do that for you. It will be the worst deal you've ever seen, and it'll eat you alive, and it'll be terrible. But I can do it. And if you're asking a broker for the same thing, he can show you a no money down deal that you could own in 90 days. No, you're not doing it. So never lead off by letting the guy know you don't have any money by asking him for no money down deals. Red flag. Don't be that guy. Another thing that people don't seem to grasp as being an issue is letting the broker know that you syndicate deals. You may think that sounds really cool because you got some gurus out there that are teaching you how to build a syndication business, but the broker doesn't want to hear it. That's another way of saying, I don't have any money and I'm hoping to raise a whole lot of dough before the deadline and buy this property. If I can't, we'll just shake hands apart, friends. And I know I just wasted your time. So don't ever let the broker know that you syndicate deals. Go back to that statement that I made earlier. I represent a group of investors. Well, how many investors? Well, you know what? I'm not really sure. It will really depend upon how we end up structuring this deal. But if this is a good deal and I'm able to, I'll buy it myself. But I might need one or two of my close moneyed friends to help me get over the hurdle. How'd that sound? That sounded like, wow, the broker's going to want to do business with me, right? I had one, and I don't know if on my notes if I have it in here about talking about proof of funds letters, but let me just speak to that for just a moment. I hate proof of funds letters. Talk about forming a layer of discrimination by the broker. He's going to ask you right away, do you have a proof of funds letter? Seriously, folks, I never get asked for a proof of funds letter. I can call one broker and talk to him and get everything I need to make that deal happen. And you, first day in the job, are going to be asked to send off a proof of funds letter. He wants to discriminate against you. He wants to find out what you're really worth, who you really are. And like I say, the proof of funds letter is like giving bullets for your enemy's gun. He's just going to use it against you. He's not going to use it to benefit you. He's only going to use it against you. So there are ways around that proof of funds letter request. If you want to know what they are, ask me at the end. All right. Let me see. Don't ever tell him it's your first day on the job. Don't tell him you've never done a deal before. He does not need to know your history. He does not need to know your resume. All right. So just don't say those types of things to the broker. Another thing you want to say is, let me see. Is, don't come out and ask if there is any seller financing. Okay. That is also code for a bad deal. I know you might think, oh, this is, the seller's going to do the financing. Ugh, guys, I've seen some nasty seller finance deals, but there's no sense in that. No sense in not asking. So one of the ways we do it is we change the wording. We say, is the seller willing to get creative? That's really the same thing. but I'm putting the onus on them to say, give me some ideas. That's like, the first person that mentions price loses. That's the same thing. Is the seller willing to get creative? Oh, yeah, he is. Well, tell me a little bit more. How is he willing to get creative? And then sit back and listen. Let me see. All right. Let me go first off. I mentioned the different types of categories. Let me kind of walk through them so that everybody understands, just to get a basis of understanding here. Bird doggers. Bird doggers are really, it's the easiest way to get started in this business and learn the business and make offers and talk to owners and talk to brokers and talk to investors. It's a great way to get started. There's very little risk. The reward is if the deal closes, you get paid. You don't have to write an earnest money check. You just have to introduce a buyer, an investor who ends up closing on the deal, and you get a cut of the deal at the closing table. Typically is how it works. Let me just tell you, folks, the risk that a bird dogger takes is giving away his only asset without any guarantee of being compensated for that. You might be thinking, so what asset does a bird dogger have? The only asset that a bird dogger has is information. And once that information leaves his mouth, he's lost his asset. So unless he's got a contract between the buyer and the bird dogger, where he's going to be compensated for the information he's about to receive, you're not going to get paid. So it's a fee agreement. I actually just found our fee agreement the other day when I was looking for it. If you're a student of mine, if you're a client of mine, you want to see that bird dogger fee agreement, shoot me over an email and I'll give it out to you, and I'll also make sure we put it on our coaching platform. Let me see. The second type of person is obviously the wholesaler. It's one step up from the bird dogger, but there's more risk involved with being a wholesaler. With a wholesaler, you actually got to put up on the when you sign the contract, you've got to put up some earnest money. So you're putting some risk out there. You're putting some money at risk. Now you got to turn around and flip that contract to an end buyer. So typically, if that's the case, you get paid back your earnest money and you get a fee at the closing table. Now the bird dogger tends to make about 1%. Wholesalers can make up to 3%. I've seen bird doggers trying to get 3%, and those guys are obviously having their first day on the job, because if you're just bird dogging, if you're just giving out information and you're not putting up anything, forget about it. You're not going to get 3%. You shouldn't get 3%. Think about what you get if you syndicate the deal. What's your acquisition fee? It's typically about 3%. And think about all that you have to do to earn that 3%. If you have to do all of those things, and a bird dogger has to give you an address, that's not comparable. The bird dogger is not entitled to 3%. He's entitled to 1 if you're doing all the other work. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about these things. So if the wholesaler screws up and his money goes hard, he's either buying that or he's losing his earnest money deposit. So keep that in mind. Then the other person is a syndicator. And I'll tell you something. There's not a whole hill of beans difference, very narrow difference between a wholesaler and a syndicator. The only difference is the syndicator stays in the deal longer. The wholesaler gets in, gets his fee, and gets out. If you're looking to get in this business and grow your portfolio, you might, and you're thinking of wholesaling it, unless you're overextended and you haven't, you're not able to close the deal, and you're trying to flip the contract, that's when you should be the wholesaler. The syndicator, just stay in the deal and raise the money and find your investors, which is what you should be doing anyway right now, is looking for your investors, and then close that deal, and now you own it. All right. Now, the other thing that you really need to do and this is something we teach, is identify who your investors are if you're syndicating, so that when you are looking and speaking to the broker about what type of deals you want to do, it matches up with what type of deals your investors want to do. If you as a syndicator are out there looking for deals that do not match what your investors are looking for, you're going to fail every single time. So when you sit down with that broker and the broker asks you the question, hey, what type of deals you're looking for? That's really where you go back and look in your database of investors who are looking to invest with you and see what they're looking for. And then you let the broker know, this is what I'm looking for. These are the types of deals I'm looking for. Let me see. All right. Now, a couple of things you want to know about properties, obviously, when you're speaking to the broker. We talk about properties in the form of letter grades, A, B, C, and D. I don't want you saying that to a broker. If he says, what type of deals you're looking for? Don't say, I'm looking for A-class deals. I'll tell you how you can get around that and still only look at A-class deals. But especially, you don't want to do this. This is something you never want to say to a broker. It is code for you just got out of a boot camp, okay? And this is it. I'm looking for a C-class property in a B area, or I'm looking for a B-class property in an A area. Yeah, you and everybody else. And when the broker hears you say that, he says, well, you're familiar with Fort Worth, Texas? Oh, not really. No, I'm not. I'm going to come down there. I'm going to take a look at it. I'll let you know how it goes. That's code also for, I can tell this guy just about anything, and he's got no grounds for saying I'm a liar. So when you say to the broker, oh, I want a C-class property in a B area, I got just the property for you. Step into my office. That's what's going on. That's what's going on behind the scenes. The broker is like, oh my gosh, you've never been to Fort Worth? Oh, sure. I've got just the deal for you. And you're none the wiser because you've never been there. So don't say that. It is a red flag that you have no idea what you're talking about. All right. So a couple of things when you keep in mind that we're doing value add type propositions, and you definitely found a great property, and you're gonna rehab it, and you're gonna make this thing, gonna raise the rents. The code is here. The thing you need to understand is that C-class property that you're trying to turn into a B, anybody can turn a property from 1 letter grade up 3 letter grades. All it takes is money. You can turn a D-class property into a Taj Mahal. All it takes is money. The thing where people go wrong is understanding that tenant who is looking for the Taj Mahal and can afford the Taj Mahal wants to live in that renovated unit of yours, renovated property of yours. If it's in a war zone, he ain't going there. So your rehab proposition fails. That's the thing. You got to make sure that not only do you switch the assets letter grade, but you also change the letter grade of the clientele as well. Now, another thing that you're looking for, so we're going to talk a little bit when we get into the elevator speech about the quality of the asset. Now we're also going to talk about the market. Now, obviously, there are 3 different types of markets: your primary market, your secondary market, and your tertiary market. Primary markets are where, is why I describe it, where the international airports live. The secondary markets are where the regional airports live, and the tertiary markets are where there are no towers at the local landing strip, and the pilots are just talking to each other as they fly around. You can make millions in all of these markets. I just had a client of mine started off with me, no units, no properties. It just closed on his 4th, and it's in a tertiary market. And because he understands value, he's going to make a killing on that property. So it doesn't matter which market you're in, you can make money in all different markets. Just things get done differently. For instance, primary markets, the benefit to primary markets is that investor dollars go into them easily and they come out of them easily. Tertiary markets, it's harder to get your investors to understand the value of the tertiary market and get in. And then when it's time to sell, it's tough to get your investor dollars out in the form of a group of investors stepping in and taking your place. So keep that in mind when you're talking to the broker about the markets that you're looking for. Now, the one thing that I want you to always keep in mind when you're having these initial conversations with brokers is where do you see yourself being in 5 years? Now, you can, if you're up here in Boston and you want to build a portfolio in Dallas, Texas, you can do that. You're going to be spending a lot of time on planes, going back and forth, checking out your properties. If you see yourself living in Fort Lauderdale 5 years from now, start looking at Fort Lauderdale. Why not? Go where your business is going to go so you can enjoy life and you don't have to spend a lot of your time sitting in an airport. Man, I used to do that. Every 60 days, I would go over and see all my properties. I'd fly to Dallas. I'd fly to Lexington, not Lexington, but Kentucky. I'd drive from Kentucky through Ohio to Michigan. I'd fly home. What was really interesting is I always rented the same car at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I always did. I usually stayed at the same types of hotels, usually like a Holiday Inn Express or something, because I want to be ready the next day for anything life threw at me. What always amazed me is that the car that I rented at Enterprise was 3 times more expensive in Detroit than it was in Dallas. Same car, 3 times. Anybody want to tell me why it was the same car was 3 times more expensive? One reason and one reason only. Go ahead and type in your answer. Okay, so you understand what not to say to the brokers. I'm going to give you a couple more of those in a moment, but right now I want to talk to you about how to build your elevator speech. You want to be able to walk into a broker and explain to them exactly what you're looking for. Now, listen, I wasn't when I first got started, my elevator speech was flat. I mean, I'd take anything the guy would show me. I mean, at Warzone, it didn't matter to me. I'd talk about cash on cash returns. I'd talk about cap rates. All the things I'm going to teach you not to say, I would say it. And then over time, I understood and I learned what it was that made the distinction as to what I need to say to the broker and why. And part of it had to do with knowing what type of property I wanted to own and operate, because I wasn't getting any older. Wait a minute. No, I wasn't getting any younger. And certain types of properties were just so much more challenging to own and operate that I just didn't want to do it. So I said, this is the type of property that my investors and I want to rent or want to buy. And here goes. And I'll tell you exactly why I came up with all of these particular sayings. Let me see. What's the question again about car being expensive? Detroit. Yeah. So Lama, here's a question again. Why was it 3 times more expensive to rent the same car from the same company in Detroit than it was in Dallas? Let's see. Oh, potential for threat. Oh, Gary. That's not the answer I was looking for. You know what I'm saying? I think you know what I'm saying. No, not the insurance cost. No, and it was clearly spelled out on the receipt. It was no. All right, here is the answer. You ready? I'll give you 10 more seconds to hear the answer. All right, and then we're going to talk elevator speech. Elevator speech. Not labor. Come on, Llama. Now you're guessing. Guys, we're talking about, oh, okay. John's a little bit on the right side, but, and it is a question of red and blue. It is a question of red and blue. See if you guys understand what I mean by that. Not Union Bob, just John Racine, taxes. They hit you with so many taxes in Detroit. There was a tax for the, where the rental car facility was located. If I had taken an Uber off of airport property and found an enterprise rental, which was just down the street, but off property, the price would have dropped significantly. All having to do with taxes. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous to do business there. Okay, elevator speech. I'm looking for 1990s construction or newer, pitched roofs, separate entrances, individually metered, and some type of a management problem that I can fix. That's it. The broker hears that. He knows what I'm looking for. Let me run through every single one of them so you understand why I say what I say. First one, 1990s or newer. Actually, when I first got started in this business, we were saying 1980s construction or newer, and now we might want to say 2000 or newer. The reason why I say that is because it implies that the property is going to be individually metered, even though I specifically asked for that. But it also means that the quality of construction on a property became so much better after the 80s than it was before. It had to do with the chiller boilers, single pane glasses, flat roofs, all the things I didn't want. If I just stayed with property constructed after the 80s, I knew I was going to get a good quality asset that was easy to maintain, looked good, was probably well designed. Anything in the 70s, it was a bad show, as we always say. Let me keep going here. The other thing that I would say is pitched roofs. I always wanted pitched roofs. Now, let me tell you here, when I was first getting started in this business, a broker asked me, do you want pitched roofs or flat roofs? And my answer to him was, I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. It's a leak. I'll just fix the leak. Well, and then I owned a flat roof, and I swore I would never own a flat roof again because they don't just get fixed. They are so hard to get fixed. Pitch roofs are so much easier to fix and maintain. And also, folks, one of the other reasons that I came into it is wind shear claims. You can put in a wind shear claim with your insurance if you have a pitch roof. I had 38 roofs replaced on 2 of my properties, all covered by insurance claims because they were pitched. One of those properties, I had about 132 units that had flat roofs. They never got replaced. And so that's another reason for the pitched roofs. Then I also say separate entrance. Individually metered. Individually metered also is kind of cool. You can say like 1980s and later, or later models, 1980s, and you're going to be talking about individually metered properties. I used to own landlord paid properties, all bills paid property. Nightmare. Never again will I own an all bills paid property. Let the tenants pay the utilities. When the tenants and the utility companies are in cahoots together against you, you will lose every single time. I guarantee it. So just don't put yourself in that situation. Do individually metered. Let the tenants pay their own property. Now that does not mean that does not mean that that if you bought an individually metered property, it translates into an all bills paid property. What does that mean? What I mean by that is you can look at a property. That 132 unit property, it was individually metered, but I paid all the utilities because the market in that particular area said that that type of asset, the tenants expect you to pay all the utilities. So even though it's a designed and set up as an individually metered property, doesn't mean it's going to be. Make sure you check that out before you buy the property. Separate entrances. Oh, I own some properties where there's a separate entrance. There's a main entrance. You know, like you're walking into the main building and then you go in, there's the levels and everyone's unit empties out into a center hallway and that is carpeted, that has, stairs at the end of each hallway, and you have to hire a maintenance person to go in there and vacuum it 3 times a week, and the carpets get beat to crap, and the people, when they step outside the door, they can smell what everybody is cooking, and if they don't, some people leave their crap in the hallway. Oh God, it was just absolutely terrible. It's just not a not a well-designed asset. Go for separate entrances. You can drive around your property and look at the buildings and look right down, and you can see who's there, who's, no kids are hanging out, no loitering. You don't have any problems with crime. You can see who's there. Hey, do you belong here? Yeah, this is my house. Okay, good. It's just a nice, easier way to do it. And I highly recommend. And those are the reasons why I've asked for all those types of properties. Somebody asked me about RUBS for those individually, for those all bills paid properties. There are different types of RUBS, and what I mean by that is, water and sewer. You can do some form of bill back for water and sewer, but it's just usually what we do is we base it upon the number of bedrooms on the property, and you just add it to the rent. But what RUBS actually does is called a ratio utility bill back system, and so it's a meter that goes on your chiller boiler system or whatever system you're using, and it tracks the amount of usage that the tenants have. It doesn't work for all properties because it doesn't work mostly for chiller boilers either. But it's really the tenants have to pay that bill sometimes directly to the RUBS company. And that's how the money gets collected. And you as a landlord might be able to get a cut of that, but it's never anywhere near what you're paying for your utility bills. That's why individually metered units are so much better. All right. So that is the, and then the final thing, if you recall, the final part, so 1990s or newer, pitched roofs, separate entrances, individually metered, and some type of a management problem that I can get in there and fix. Don't they all have that? They absolutely do. So what the thing that I'm here to tell you is that that statement is essentially a code to the broker to just start talking. Tell me what's going on in this property. I want to know. Why are they selling? What's going on that I can get in there and really, take advantage of a value add opportunity. Now, so that's how you speak to the broker when you're talking about your the type of deals. That's your elevator speech. I told you what not to say. Another thing that every time you speak to a broker, you should just commit this statement to memory. Commit it to memory. Don't ever forget it. Always make sure that you close with this one sentence. Well, that property doesn't work out. Is there anything else that you're working on that I might be able to take a look at? Do you have anything back in your underwriting department that hasn't hit the market yet that I can take a look at? That is code for, do you have any pocket listings? Pocket listings, I hear everybody says, like I was talking to this broker, I just got out of the boot camp. The boot camp taught me how to ask for a pocket listing. And so I got the broker on the phone. I said, hey, you guys have any pocket listings I can take a look at? Oh yeah, that lets the broker know you just got out of a boot camp as well. Because what broker is going to give you, someone he's never known before, never closed a deal with, probably can tell you've never done this before, what do you think he's going to give you his best pocket listing? If he had a pocket listing that was that good, his best buyers would already have it on their desk, but they passed on it. And now he's going to give it to you as a pocket listing because everybody else has already passed. That's the thing that you want to make sure you don't make these stupid rookie mistakes and really make it look like it's your first day on the job. Let me see. Here are two other things that I never want you to say to brokers. I don't want you to ask about the cap rate. I don't want you to ask what the cap rate is, and never, never, never talk about cash on cash return. Here's the first reason. When you talk cap rate, like, hey, Mr. Broker, what's the cap rate in this marketplace? That's code that you don't know what you're doing. Because once you ask for the cap rate, you're essentially telling him the price that you're willing to pay for these deals. He's not going to tell you the cap rate. He's going to make you figure it out. First rule of real estate is first person that mentions price loses. All right. When you mention cap rate, you're essentially mentioning price. That's why when you're looking at a offering memorandum from a broker and it says TBD, to be determined by market, what's the price? TBD by market, to be determined by the market. You'll never see the cap rate anywhere on that proposal, anywhere else than OM, because once he tells you what his valuation of the cap rate is, he just told you what the property's worth. So don't you ask for the cap rate. You need to know that information yourself because you've become an expert in that particular market. And the other thing I don't want you talking about is the cash on cash return. That's no one's business but yours and the seller's. You see, the cash on cash return has got nothing to do with the property. It's got everything to do with the deal that you struck with the seller. That's between you and the seller, nobody else. So if you might be asking, Charlie, I don't get what you mean. Listen to this. If I go out there and I negotiate a deal with this particular broker and I've got bad credit and I've got, very little money and the bank sees me as a risk, I'm going to get a really lousy deal from the bank. I'm going to have to put a lot more money down and my cash on cash is not going to look that good. The good Charlie walks in and he starts hamming it up with the seller. Oh, they love each other. Kids went to the same school. Hey, listen, would it be possible if you gave me 10% seller financing on this deal? Oh, Charlie, absolutely. I'll do that for you. Whose cash on cash return is going to look better? Charlie 1 or Charlie 2? Cash on cash goes to how well you negotiated the deal with the seller. It's nobody else's business. So don't bring it up with the broker ever. Let's see. Yeah, that's a cap rate. Cash on cash. Oh, also, when we talk seller financing or the seller willing to get creative, don't ever talk second mortgages. You always talk and negotiate it so that it's the seller financing is in a form that is satisfactory to the lender. Most lenders don't allow second mortgages, so you can't ask for one because you don't want to be down to the 2 weeks before closing and the bank comes back and says, hey, we're all ready to go, but there's a little issue with a second mortgage. You don't want to do that because they'll hold it up and then you lose control of the deal. Another one. I had this one broker said that he couldn't understand it when showing somebody one time a deal and the person said, yeah, this is a really good deal. Do you know anyone else that would want to invest with me on this deal? That's your job. But why are you making that my job? Don't even do that. And then finally, guys, number one rule, always remain in control of the deal. That's the number one rule. When you're on the phone with the broker, don't think that the questions or the interrogation should only go one way, where they're interviewing you to see if they want to work with you. Turn it around on them and you start interrogating them. How long have you been doing this? What was the last deal you did? What was the cap rate it sold at? Any problems in the closing? What type of deals do you typically see? How do you find them? How do you source them? How many listings do you have right now? I mean, interrogate them. You'll pick up a lot of stuff, but what you might end up with is a good friend, a guy who really appreciates you're digging down and figuring it out. There's some brokers that I became very, very friendly with over the years because we just talk. We just talk. And that's the way you really need to run your business. All right. So let me run through a couple of the questions here. Ugh. I didn't bring any water today. I'm dying. Let's see what does Llama say? Enterprise will give you a break away from airports. Exactly. I normally take Metro to Enterprise. Yes, exactly. Llama, I figured that out much later. I didn't realize it early on, but that happens with most of these places. Let's see, Llama, flat roofs are nightmares. Oh, they are such nightmares. I didn't realize it until it was a Texas property, and that thing just leaked like a sieve, and I could never fix that thing. We use a company called Multifamily Utility Company. Okay, so this is a RUBS-like system. They bill directly based off the total consumption and number of residents per unit. Guys, the number of residents per unit is also a way that we measure for the water. So if it's a 2-bedroom, and we want to start charging back for water, we charge a higher rate for the 2-bedroom than we do for a 1-bedroom because more people, more usage. Let's see. First multi I bought, I budgeted in splitting out the utilities during the escrow period. Wasn't that much and really changed the NOI. First multi I bought, I budgeted in splitting out the utilities during the escrow period. Okay, so I think what you mean is that you kind of decided when you took it over that you were going to take it from an all bills paid to a tenant, more of a tenant paid property. Well, the thing is that I did that one time and I absolutely blew it. And I didn't realize I blew it because I didn't know what I didn't know. And, the tenancy, the type of tenants in that particular property, C-class residents, they only paid all bills paid. And when I started trying to build them back for the utilities, they left in the middle of the night. And I got screwed over. So you have to really understand the market before you do stuff like that. It's such a winning line. I also use one on the settlement table with the seller. It works. All right. I can't remember what the line was. Let's see. Okay, John Racine. John Racine. All right, John. Proof of funds letters. I hate them. It's a way for a broker to push back on you. So when the broker asks you for a proof of funds letter, push back on him. Turn it right around. Well, what kind of proof of funds letter do you want? You want a hard proof of funds or soft proof of funds? Well, how much do you want it for? The full purchase price or a down payment amount? I mean, because listen, I'm not going to go and pull out all this information from my partners and if you don't even know what you need. So, he might see you now as walking away from a deal. And if he doesn't sell this thing, he doesn't make a commission. So if he's trying to push you back and you got to push back on him, say, listen, I don't see any real benefit for me giving you my proof of funds letter for you to see how much money I have in my bank account. I tell you what, why don't you show me how much money you have in your company's bank account, and then we can talk. Just push back. There's no reason. Why would you ever let somebody else, why would you let the seller know how much money you have? What if you were loaded, absolutely loaded? Do you see any benefit to giving the seller a proof of funds letter to show you're loaded? No, this guy's going to sit back and say, I'm going to negotiate hard. This guy's got a lot of money. It doesn't benefit you one iota to give up a proof of funds letter. Never. It has never worked in all my years. It has never worked to the buyer's benefit when the broker gets a proof of funds letter. It always just works against them. Bill Caliphate. Okay to include needed renovations in the elevator speech. Okay. Well, you know what, Bill? That kind of goes to the conversation about value add and what type of deal you're looking for with the broker. Absolutely say that. If that's the type of buyer you are, somebody looking for deals, value add, I own my own construction company because I know Bill Caliphate owns his own construction company. You absolutely say that to the broker. hey, do you have any hard rehabs? Do you have any light rehabs? I am those are the type of deals that my contractors and I are looking for. Absolutely, Bill. You will be put into a different category of buyers in a very unique bucket. So definitely let the broker know that type of information. I like that one. Yeah, you like that one, John. If you don't know what you need, I'm kind of you got to finish this shot. Yeah, all right, Bryanton. So glad you made it, Bobby boy. Bobby boy. All right, guys, that's it. I had a good crowd today. Good crowd. All right, so tell all your friends. I think there's some way that you can promote this to your list. I don't know if you want to put it on your social media so we can start building up this group. I want to get this to be over 100 people every week. This is fun. I like doing this. Let me see, Bill. I usually with any management or renovations that I can fix. Yeah, definitely do that, Bob. Bill, definitely. Line was to the broker. Do you have any other properties you're working on or coming into? When buying from an investor, you can ask them when you close if they have any other properties they want to sell. Yeah. Also, people looking to do 1031 exchanges. What are they going to do? Where are they going to roll the money? Maybe you get a property to sell them as well. So, all right, everybody. Hey, this was fun, and I will see you next Thursday. If the creek don't rise. Guys, if the creek don't rise, does not mean if the creek don't rise does not mean a body of water overflowing. Creeks was biked it like it. Thanks, Leonard Dobbins, my brother, my number one podcast listener is here in the house. That's great. So the creek don't rise. Creek is not a body of water, and it's not talking about the creek overflowing. It's talking about the Indian nation, the Creek Nation. If the creek don't rise, I will be back in Washington to report back to you, Mr. President. That's what the real story is. All right, everybody. Great to see you, and we will chat again next week. See y'all.